Hello, everyone. Welcome to the iSpring Solutions webinar series, where every week we talk about e-learning trends, share iSpring tips and tricks, and cover clients' cases. My name is Paulina. I am the community manager at iSpring, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar, where we will be talking about PowerPoint and its amazing functions in Office 365 that, according to our today's presenter, will leave you speechless. And now let's talk a little bit about our today's speaker. So in order to cover this topic, I have invited a great presenter, PowerPoint guru, great person, Richard Goring, who is also a director at BrightCarbon, and that's an e-learning agency that helps people to produce beautiful e-learning content. Hi, Richard. How have you been and how are you doing?
Hi, Paulina. Yes, sorry, I'm very well. I hope that you're doing well too, given the circumstances that we're all in. Hi, everyone.
Wonderful, that's awesome. And before I pass the mic over to Richard, I would like to cover a couple of technical moments. So first of all, guys, don't worry. If for some reason you will not be able to sit through the whole session, it's being recorded. So you will receive a link to a replay sometime after the webinar. However, I would still like to encourage you to stay till the very end because it's an amazing opportunity to address your questions directly to our today's presenter. And to do so, please submit them in the question box, which you will find on the right side of the GoToWebinar panel. And also, I do have my other colleague, Arena from Technical Support Department, and she will be helping us with all the questions coming in the chat during the session. So guys, please keep those questions coming. And again, we are extremely happy to see all of you here today with us. And at this point, I think we are ready to begin. So Richard, let me pass the mic over to you as well as the presenter rights.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Yes, so we are going to be looking at all sorts of wonderful things today, all about PowerPoint and how you can use it in a variety of ways to create all sorts of wonderful effects. So let's get going and look at what you can do. So Office 365 is really a superhero, I think, in terms of helping you to get out of trouble and solving a lot of the problems that you might face when you're creating presentations, content, and other e-learning tools. The first thing that I want to look at super quickly is icons. Icons are a great way of being able to convey information in a professional, sophisticated, and modern way. Well, you get the idea. Anyway, icons are useful in a variety of circumstances, and you can use icons all from within PowerPoint. So built into Office 365 is the ability to add icons. To do that, you go to the Insert tab on the ribbon up here, and then you've got this little duck and leaf motif, which is, for whatever reason, the symbol for icons. Click that, and it's now going to bring up this big pop-up window here, which shows you a huge range of different icons that you can add in. I mean, there's loads of them that you can choose from, lots of different, a couple of different styles in there as well. And so you can now flick through those and choose what you want. Also, the search at the top, so I'm going to choose, for example, rockets. It's going to come up with a couple of options. I'm going to choose that one there, click it, and then choose Insert. And now you've got an icon built into PowerPoint. Now, the really interesting and useful thing about these is that it's not a picture, it's a PowerPoint shape, it's a graphic object, which means that you can increase the size of it and it's not going to get all pixelated, it's still nice and smooth. And you can also do things like change the colors. So in the graphics format tab on the ribbon here, you can choose graphics fill, and just like with any other shape in PowerPoint, you can now change the color of it too. And so the whole thing works really very nicely and very easily. So all you need to do is just add a simple animation to it, for example, and it will now come in and work really nicely with all of your other content. And so what that means is this access to these kinds of things means that you can take terrible, horrible slides like this with all sorts of nasty clip art all over it, and instead, with just a couple of trimming points to get rid of some of the text, now produce something that's nice and clean and consistent with the same family of icons that you can use all the way through to bring your content to life. Now I've got a picture in the background here as well. Well, there's all sorts of different things that you can get sources for pictures. But again, now in Office 365, and this is only launched in the last week or so, so you might not have the update yet, but it will be coming to you very soon, is that you can also choose to add pictures from stock images. And so now PowerPoint has again built into it a whole range of stock images that you can access And again, there's thousands of them that you can now choose from, as well as the icons that are in the same tab up here. Or you can even choose cutout people, and they have about half a dozen or so different people and all sorts of different poses and whatnot, which you can add. And of course, in iSpring, you've got an even greater range of these kinds of stock images. So now you've got a huge variety of different kind of assets that you can use, and so this can maybe give you a little bit more if you want to complement the ones that you've already got built into iSpring. And if you're really keen, you can add in stickers, but to be honest, I'm not sure that I necessarily would. There are some here that perhaps you don't want to use, but you've got those options there and they're all built into PowerPoint. So trying to get hold of these high quality assets can be really very easy now, just using PowerPoint to create very quick and easy slides like that. Now those are kind of interesting, but you can go further with a lot of the stuff in PowerPoint. And one thing that I wanted to draw to your attention to is live maps. Now there are all sorts of ways that you can use maps in PowerPoint to create really interesting stories, to be able to talk about sharing information effectively, for example, or global communication, how you can pass things around. Maps are an important part of many storytelling techniques, and you can use them in PowerPoint nice and easily by going bizarrely to the Insert tab on the ribbon and then Charts. Now, if you click Insert and Charts, I'm sure you're all familiar with this. You can add in, column, line, pie, bar charts, all of that kind of stuff. But in Office 365, there are a variety of new charts as well that might be worth looking at. All these ones down at the bottom. So, for example, a tree map, sunburst, box and whisker chart, and waterfall, which has been asked for many years. And so those can be kind of interesting to be able to generate those automatically. But almost hidden away here in the middle is this one here called Maps. And what that does is it will bring up a map of the world and then also an Excel table with all of those different countries listed in it. And you can now create a heat map type setup within PowerPoint using this Excel table. And so you can see here, I've got all those different countries there listed, and you can see how they're now highlighted on that map. Now, it might be the case that you say, well, yeah, but I only want to highlight, say, the US, where I am now, and Mexico, for example. Well, this map will change dynamically. So if you remove any of these countries here, it will now automatically figure out that the US and Mexico are all part of North America, and so it will just show you the North American region. Or if I just choose the US, it will just show me the US, for example, any moment now, I'm sure. It will do. And then once you've got that, you can then type in different states. So I can type in, say, for example, just Florida. And what that will do is it will then normally go down to just showing me Florida. We can try that again. Let's see if there was a crash with its map. Okay, bring that in. I've got the charts. And we're going to change it so that you're just showing the US. There we go. So it's just showing the US now. And then if you type in, say, Florida, for example, it will just show you the Florida map. And if I then type in maybe California, like that, it will now show me those two states highlighted on a US state map. And so this will work at a country level, a region level, a city level, a zip or postal code level as well. And so you can get really granular maps of very specific areas, which works really very nicely indeed. And so that's now just the standard chart, and you can use that kind of however you want to create all sorts of wonderful effects. And so that kind of thing can be really very helpful to be able to bring content to life a lot more. So taking a world map or a US map like this, and then adding content over the top of it to then create a story in a visual way so that you can give people a sense of what's going to work and how things should progress. So really useful storytelling techniques, all using maps. But when it comes to storytelling, to be honest, the big thing in Office 365 is the Morph transition. Now, if no one has used this before, then you have been missing out. This is actually a couple of years old now, but it's improving all the time and more things that you can do with it. Morph is a transition in PowerPoint, and normally you should never use transitions. So you can go to the Transitions tab on the ribbon here, and there's a whole range of different transitions that you can choose from. And almost all of them are terrible. I mean, why you'd ever want to use origami bird, I have no idea. But it's not the worst. You've got things like aeroplane as well, or fracture, to really shatter the dreams of your audience when they have to go through that. So clearly, you don't want to use most of these because they're really distracting. And if in doubt, you should use this one here called fade, which is a nice, simple, subtle fade from one slide to the next. Until Morph came out in Office 365, which is this transition here. So let me show you how it works. With Morph, I can, for example, draw a box on one slide, and then in the thumbnails view here on the left, duplicate that slide by using Control and D. So now we've got two versions of the same slide, and on the second slide, move this across like that. Okay, so far, so basic. But if you go to the Transitions tab and add in Morph on the second slide, what PowerPoint will do is it will say, this is the same box on both slides, it's just in a different place. And in slideshow mode, it will seamlessly morph from one slide to the next. And so that all of a sudden gives you all sorts of different options that you can use. There's a whole range of different things that you can now play around with. So if you were to say, right, well, I've got that there and I've moved it, what if I were to also maybe shrink it down and then possibly change the color? What happens then? And PowerPoint goes, oh, okay, it's the same box, but in a different place and a different color and a different size. I can handle that. And so it now automatically moves from one to the other. And then when you think about that, you think, oh, that's great. But what if I were to maybe do something a little bit more useful, because we want to do storytelling, not move boxes. Well, here's an example of a fairly typical slide, for instance. So here we've got an onboarding process for new starters. Now, this is a great infographic. It's a wonderful PDF and it's a great printout, but it's a terrible slide. And it's even worse in an e-learning environment where people are going to be viewing it on probably quite a small screen, maybe even a mobile. And so there's no way they'll be able to see any of those details. But what if you were to say, well, here's the overall process, and now what I'm going to do is show you the initial strategy and planning section, and then move across to the launch event, and then move down to the training alignment, and so on and so forth. And you're moving around all of the various elements of the process, showing people the details, giving them that kind of description of what's going on, any extra details you want to bring in, and then at the end you can say, and here's the summary of everything you've just been through, and this is available as a download of a PDF or whatever it is you want to do. This is all just done using Morph. So to show you how that works, here's the initial slide, and you can see there, this is the whole diagram on that slide. But if I then zoom out for a little bit, you'll then see, if I go to the next slide, it's exactly the same diagram, but now just much larger, with only a small portion of it visible on the actual slide itself, and all the rest is off the slide. And on the next slide, again, it's the same diagram, but now just shifted to the left. And so Morph is now looking at all of these elements on the slide and saying, well, they're all the same, they're just larger and shifted position. And so it will automatically create that effect for you, which can work really nicely. And that's great, that allows you to kind of move around, but you can also take things even further if you want to, by shifting around the way that your content kind of works. So here I've got a fairly complicated image. It's a picture of a beach, but it could be a screenshot, a site map, a graph, a chart, a table, anything like that, where you've got a lot of detail and you want to highlight various elements of it. And so rather than kind of zooming into the whole thing and losing context, you can also now create like a zoom lens effect where you can show off all of these elements and you can magnify various pieces as you see fit. And again, that's all just done using Morph. So to show you how that works, I'm going to go to a blank slide, just a picture placeholder here, click here on the pictures icon, and I'm going to add in that same beach picture. So there it is. Now I'm going to copy that image and paste it. So you've got two of them lined up on top of each other there, and just line them up like that. And then on the top picture, I'm going to use the crop tool, so the picture format tab on the ribbon, and crop over on the right-hand side to use these black grab handles to crop that image down just like that, okay? And so now you've got a cropped version of the image where you're focused in on the pool. Now, I don't want that to be all rectangular like that, so instead, I'm going to make it smoother and rounder. And you can do that by, again, going to the picture format tab, crop over here on the right-hand side, but choose this little drop down to now be able to crop to shape. And here you can choose to crop to any of the standard shapes in PowerPoint. So if I choose here this basic shape oval, that now gives you an oval shape, which I don't really like. I don't think the oval looks that good. I want it to be circular. So you can go back once again to the picture format tab and crop, and now choose aspect ratio. And here you can choose a 1:1 aspect ratio where it's going to crop that down to a perfect circle. All right, so that is like 90% of the work for this, just getting that crop right. There's one other thing that I need to do, which is just make it more visible, because at the moment it blends in too much. So you could either add a picture border, so picture format tab here and a picture border, or go picture effects, and I'm going to add a shadow just around the outside of it, just so that it looks like a floating lens. But also you can then increase the size of it so that it's now magnified. Okay, so that is now the base setup. Now what you do is to take the thumbnail slide here on the left and duplicate it again using Control and D, and now take this zoomed in picture and move it somewhere else on the slide. So say over the red umbrella here on the right hand side, just like that. Now obviously that looks really awkward because now we've got a zoomed in beach in the middle of the, zoomed in pool in the middle of the beach, but we're not done yet. Because when you crop an image, you don't actually lose the rest of the image. Instead, if you open up crop again, you see the rest of the picture is here, but just hidden. So I often like to think of crop as being a window through which you see the rest of the image. And so what you can do now is you can move the image within that window there, just like that. And so now you can focus this new part on the red umbrella. And now if you add the morph transition to this slide, PowerPoint goes, okay, this is the same picture, but in a different place and with a different crop frame, and it will now seamlessly move from one to the other and show you all the bits in between, because the rest of that image is still there. It's just kind of hidden. And so it's a really neat way to be able to create all sorts of interesting effects. So for example, here we've got a blurred kind of image, and then over the top of it comes an unblurred image so that it's nice and clean and crisp and clear. Or you can take things further with even more in-depth visual storytelling like this. That's a not terribly nice topic, but it's the kind of thing that you may have to create teaching for so that you can share this out. So here we've got two different pictures. We've got this kind of blue chap here, and then an internal kind of view of the vascular system. And that's now going to increase. And so you can have some kind of content that comes out the side of it. And now you're going to see how this kind of clot, this deep vein thrombosis, will kind of move through the body and then come in and cause a pulmonary embolism. Again, it's not a great topic, but it's the kind of detailed topic, the kind of detailed content that you may well need to share. And so all of this is just done using Morph. So to show you that in action, so here's the pictures I've used, the blue chap and then the vascular system one. We've already done that, so let's do the muscular system instead. So I'm just going to line those on top of each other, take this muscular image, I'm going to use the crop tool just to crop it to the top there like that, duplicate the slide, take that little top element there that you've already done and recrop it down at the bottom by the feet, apply the morph transition, and now what you get is a morph all the way down showing you all the muscular system. So it's like the latest body scanning technology or whatever it happens to be. And the nice thing with morph is you see it's going down as well as up, is that if you go backwards in the slide, the morph will work in reverse as well. So it's a nice way to seamlessly move throughout your presentation and throughout your e-learning module. So it works really very seamlessly and very nicely. So Morph is a fantastic tool to be able to bring all of this kind of stuff to life. And you can then take things that little bit further as well to kind of personalize stuff. And I wanted to show you some of the screen capture tools in PowerPoint. Now, these are also in iSpring, so you can kind of pick and choose what you like. I think with iSpring you get a little bit more control, but just we talked about PowerPoint, so let's mention PowerPoint specifically. You've got the ability in PowerPoint to add in screenshots. So you can go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and then Screenshot here on the left, and that gives you the ability to open up a screenshot of any of the available windows that you have open. So a couple of PowerPoint files here, for example, a couple of windows, or you can just do a screen clipping, or you can just do, and if you're on Windows, the Windows key, Shift and S, and your screen will go kind of dark, but then you can either select a small portion of the screen or the full screen if you want to, and then you just paste that in, and now you've got a screen capture that you can use for whatever purposes you want. And again, the same kind of thing is true in iSpring. And you can also do screen recordings, again, just natively in PowerPoint if you want to. So go to the Insert tab again, and over on the right-hand side, you've got this screen recording button. Now, if you press that, your PowerPoint slide will be minimized, so then you see other stuff, but I'm going to bring that back in. You can choose what area you want to record, so whether that is the full screen or just a portion of it, and you get this little dock here that allows you to change control. So you can capture your audio or your cursor, you can select a new area, or you can just press record as well. That'll then give you a countdown timer, and now it'll press record. So what you can do now is to record anything you want to. So let's just press record there like that. You get the countdown timer coming in. And now you can see any of those bits there. It'll pick up your audio, and then you can do stop, and it will then give you that screen capture. I needed to turn off the dock, which I didn't do for this demo. I'm sorry, but normally you don't have to have the dock there, but now you get a nice little kind of video of everything you created with all of the audio picked up as well. And so you've got a neat way to be able to create video content straight from within PowerPoint. And if you do need to extract that for any reason, you can do by simply right-clicking on the video and just choosing Save Media As, and that will now give you the ability to save that out as a separate MP4 file. So some useful things that you can do there, all just using PowerPoint. Although, as I said, if you use iSpring, then I think the iSpring tools are probably that bit slicker than the ones built into PowerPoint. Okay. So that's kind of creating some content and assumes that you've got all the content yourself. So, you know, you've found the images and maybe you've got that kind of from within PowerPoint. You've thought about the design and the layouts and whatnot. You've thought about what it is you want to do here. But what if your slides are just really basic like that? There is a new function in PowerPoint. If you are starting completely from scratch, it works really nicely, called Design Ideas. So let me open up a completely blank presentation. So I've got no branding in this at all. You can see the standard colors are here built in, a kind of fairly horrible blue, orange, gray, yellow motif, which doesn't really look very good. And so instead of having to come up with all the designs yourself, PowerPoint now has the ability to create a lot of designs for you. So it can first of all create design themes. So if I were to, for example, type in travel and then go to the design tab on the ribbon, over on the right-hand side here, you've got this thing called design ideas. And what that will do is it will generate a whole load of design ideas themes for you based on the concept of travel. Now, right now, this isn't necessarily a great time to showcase this feature because there is a small bug in that it's not coming up with a great many pictures. It's trying to, so it's got a really cool video background one here. So it's coming up with the idea of, you know, you're going off when you're traveling, but it's also going to try to come up with relevant themes. Now, normally what will happen is maybe we'll do it with See More Designs. It will come up with a whole lot of really lovely photo-based ones as well. So it's just coming up with abstract photos at the moment, but they are working on a fix where normally all of these photos here are now relevant to your particular theme. So one that I made earlier in the best spirit of trying to show off the tool to its best when you're actually going to use it is I simply typed in birds and it generated a theme based on birds, and it came up with lots of nice imagery of birds in there as well. And this is all linked to those stock photos that are now freely available in PowerPoint too. And not only will it come up with the images, but it will also come up with different layouts for you. So you can choose new slide, kind of newly designed layouts. And it will also come up with different theme colors as well. So now you've got the ability to add in these theme colors, which are just not the standard kind of horrible ones there. And it all matches in with your background, which works really very well. Okay, so again, I've chosen this one. And again, here you can see different theme colors just based on the kind of imagery that you're using. Or if you wanted something with this nice blue kind of motif here, different theme colors again. So you can choose your theme colors there really nicely. So now you've got a nice design style, but you can take it further than that again. So here I've got this like schedule with a number of dates and whatnot. So let's paste that in there like that. So schedule, and then I've got all these dates there. That is a pretty terrible looking slide, but again, you go to design and design ideas, and it will now try to generate nicer styles for you. So we can come up with something like this, where there's lots of icons based on the content that you've put in there. Or even it's thinking, well, actually that's a timeline. Why don't you do it as a timeline? And it will automatically generate the timeline option for you as well. If we go back to this and just copy paste some of these, so we're talking about better presentations. So better presentations there like that, type this in. And again, you want design ideas coming up, and it's now going to generate things for you. So here, click on this. I quite like that as a style, and it's now coming up with different icons based on the content that you've typed in. And if you don't like any of those icons, you can simply click on them, and then you can choose to change what that icon is. So I can now change the icon here, this little icon button. It will come up with a few options for you, or you can choose to see all icons, and then you can choose a particular one from the icon library that we looked at before. And again, there's thousands of these things that you can choose from, and you can search for something in particular. So you can type in maybe visuals, for example, like that, and it's now going to come up with something, oh, that's probably a lot better because it represents the kind of thing that I want. So use visuals instead like that. And now that kind of works really very nicely. And that's all just built into PowerPoint. It uses AI to kind of build all of this stuff up so that you can create much better looking, much more visual presentations, which is the kind of thing that you want. And once you've got it, all of these are just kind of standard elements. So they translate really nicely into kind of iSpring, or if you want to copy and paste them into other slides, again, that's perfectly fine. It's just all standard icons. So all of that works really very nicely. Let's close that down and go back to this. And so that's design ideas, and I think that it works very well to try to get away from your traditional text and bullet point, death by PowerPoint, kind of all sorts of horrible looking slides. All right, so with that, we've got a couple of different options that you can play around with, but what if you want something a bit more specific? Well, you've got some interesting options here around inking. So I've got a schematic diagram here, for example. This works really well if you have a touchscreen laptop with a pen, but if not, you can still go to the Draw tab on the ribbon here and choose a variety of pen styles. So for example, here I can use this nice yellow pen, and I'm now going to draw around that, and draw around that, and draw around that, for example, and then we can talk about maybe this being more efficient, like that, and then draw out to all of those. So I've just done a very quick sketch over the top of this, just because it's that much easier and that much quicker to be able to kind of demonstrate something, particularly highlighting content in a diagram. And that would work fine as a kind of a static slide like that, but it's, to be honest, it's not great because maybe you want to get the sense of more of a whiteboard style of things where you are actually drawing and sketching things out. So not only can you draw on your slides, but you can also select all of that ink. You can go to the animations tab on the ribbon, and you can choose here add animation, where you've got two new types of animation for ink. And so here you can do ink replay, and that will now re-sketch that out in the same order and in the same way as you actually drew it initially. You've got a couple of options when it comes to effect options here. You can have it all at once, or you can do by ink object, which is what I'd recommend because then it feels more realistic. The way that that played through, it was a bit too fast. You know, if we preview that again, it was a bit quick. And so you can also change the duration. So on the animations tab on the ribbon here, duration over on the right-hand side, you can maybe increase that to say 4 seconds. And now in slideshow mode, that's going to come up, and it's probably more real time kind of how I drew it. And so the ability to kind of share this out and create slightly more informal stuff that you can create really quickly, but also it feels that little bit more engaging, that little bit more informal, just works really very nicely, and is something that I would recommend. You can also manipulate your ink further. So if I go back to draw, let's choose a nice glitter pen, for instance, and start writing. So just write hello. I can take that, select that content, oops, and then you can convert that content using the Draw tab here and convert options to convert to math if you've drawn equations, convert to shapes if you've drawn like a process diagram, for example, or you can convert to text, and that will now convert that into editable text. And so instead of saying hello, maybe it says, oh, I don't know, help or something. No, obviously not. It's going to be hello, let's make it nice and friendly. But it's also keeping the same kind of formatting and whatnot that you've got. And so you can maybe actually sketch out a slide, or you can write out what you want, and then it will convert it to shapes or text or math equations for you, so that it's all kind of proper editable text. And so the whole thing works really very nicely to be able to do whatever it is you want. And then kind of related to that, I think this may be a good use case for it, but to be honest, there are lots of other things you can do. In PowerPoint, you've now got the ability to create animated GIFs, which can be quite cool. So if, for example, you were to draw something, so let's maybe draw something here with a nice little kind of friendly figure like that. So you've got that there. I can do the ink replay to kind of animate it. So that's kind of how I want it, which is great. Let's kind of add this in, add in that ink replay there. So that's what it would look like. You can now convert that into an animated GIF if you want to, by going to the File tab on the top left here, and then Export in the bottom left. And now you've got a few options, but this one here is Create an Animated GIF, where you have the ability to choose a variety of different frame rates and resolutions, and you can also choose how long each of them lasts as well, and then choose Create GIF, and now that will give you an animated GIF that you can re-import back into PowerPoint, so that will play through, or you can use it in a variety of other kind of tools as well. So maybe that's going to be on the loading page for your course just about to start. So maybe a little animated GIF of perhaps not a little sketch like this, but maybe it could be a few thumbnails cycling through of the slides that are in your deck. So it might be you take them back to something like this little sequence here, and you maybe select these 5 slides, and that becomes an animated GIF that just loops over 5 seconds or so, so people get a thumbnail view of what it is they're going to look at in your LMS, for example, before they click on the course to actually start it. So there's a variety of things that you can do there to try to bring things to life and kind of make them work. So animated GIFs, I think, have a great deal of potential to create all sorts of interesting content. And then the final formal thing that I wanted to cover, which will take a little while, I suspect, but we can do it, is now creating more kind of navigable, interactive content. So we talked about the idea of Morph, which is kind of interesting, but it's a linear thing. It's like you go forwards or backwards. But what about if you had a more in-depth presentation? Or more modular kind of bit, and you didn't want a single module where people just go from one to the next. You wanted them to be able to navigate around different sections. So here I have a fairly typical presentation, 20-odd slides, lots of nice visuals in, obviously, which is what you want, but it's broken down into particular topics. So I've got subtitle slides here at the start of each topic, but you'll also see that unlike regular slide sorter mode, all of the slides aren't appearing over here. They're grouped together into what PowerPoint calls sections. And so this is a great way to be able to check on your content and manage it and make sure that all of the slides are in the relevant topics. But you can also use these sections to be able to navigate through your presentation in a really easy and intuitive way. So adding a section in PowerPoint is very simple. In any kind of slide sorter mode or the thumbnails, you can simply right-click between the slides and choose Add Section, and you can choose whatever name you want for it, like that. Or you can simply go to the Home tab on the ribbon and Section here, and you can choose to add a section there like that. Okay, so however you do it, you can break your content down into these different sections very easily and very quickly. But then once you've done that, you've got some interesting options using a new feature called Zoom. So Zoom is found on the Insert tab on the ribbon. And by Zoom, I don't mean the online meeting platform that's become popular. I don't mean the animation. I don't mean the transition. It's a new feature that allows you to navigate. And so you can go to the Insert tab on the ribbon here, and halfway along, you'll find the Links function. And Zoom here gives you some interesting interactive navigable links that you can create. So you can do a couple of things. One is that you can just create a slide zoom. So if you do that, it will bring up a list of all of the slides that are in your deck, and you can choose any one of them. So I'm just going to choose this slide here and then insert. and then you can reposition this and resize it however you like. So it just looks like a picture, a thumbnail of that particular slide. But what's interesting about it is, if you were to go into slideshow mode here, when you hover over any of these zoom options, your cursor now becomes an active pointing hand to show that this is clickable content. And when you click on it, you zoom to that slide. And so it will navigate straight to the slide. And then, of course, you can go through the rest of your presentation. Now, that's all right, but the problem is that now I'm going to section 2, and it's a linear thing. So once you've gone to that slide, there's no way to get back. However, that's not entirely true, because if you click on this zoom option, you then go to the zoom tab on the ribbon here, and then it brings up a whole range of other things. So first of all, you're now seeing a number on that zoom slide, because it's showing you that it's going to slide 2. But you've also got some zoom options here on the left, which include this little checkbox here for return to zoom. So you see that all of these here have this little backwards arrow, but this one doesn't. If I click on return to zoom, that backwards arrow appears. And what that means is that now if you click on that zoom link, it'll zoom into the slide, but now when you click, instead of going through the rest of the decks, it will now bring you back to that menu where you originally left. So there's some really interesting things that you can do with that. So maybe not a section slide, but maybe there's a detailed kind of technical slide. You can just drag that in. That creates a nice zoom for you there. And maybe this is like a summary bit. So if you want more details, you can click here. Let's add the return to zoom there. So maybe you're here like that. So these are all the different bits, but if you want to see the underlying data, you can click on that, you go into that slide, and then you click and you come back to the menu. So some interesting options there for you to investigate. But you can take it further than that. Rather than just jumping down to individual slides, you can also navigate around the presentation using the sections that you created earlier. So now you go to Insert and Zoom, and this time instead of Slide Zoom, choose Section Zoom, and this shows you a list of all of the sections now that are in your presentation. So you can now do section 1 here like that and insert. It's the same little thumbnail, but now if you open up the Zoom menu, you'll notice that it's now got a range of numbers. So it goes to slide 2 through to slide 6 and then will return. And so now in slideshow mode, you can click on that, it will zoom into that slide. You can navigate through all of the slides in this section, telling them whatever you want to do or having people read the content kind of as appropriate. And then on the final slide, and this is the last slide in that section, it will then come back to the menu to allow them to navigate to any of the other elements in the deck. And so this can work really very nicely to create all sorts of kind of interactive content where you can navigate around. And yes, all of this is possible in kind of earlier versions of PowerPoint, but it's so much quicker and so much more seamless using the zoom function than it would have been using the hyperlink functions before, because you can have the returns, you can have the interactive elements, and you can choose where you're doing. So this really combines the Morph function with hyperlinks, with custom shows in a really easy and seamless way. Now that in itself is kind of nice enough, but what if you want to do more with it? Well, you can do by using functions like this. So here I've got another kind of tool. This is an e-learning module. So it's the kind of thing that you're probably going to be creating. You convert this to iSpring, kind of HTML5 with iSpring, and it works really nicely. But we've also broken it down to these different sections. And so here you can see that the main menu slide looks much nicer than the previous one. It looks like a table with various pieces of content on it, for example, so that it all fits together. The problem is if I kind of get rid of this one here and I go insert and then zoom and section zoom and choose this first section, when you add that in, because this slide has a white background, that white background now appears on this zoom and it looks kind of awkward. It doesn't fit nicely with the rest of it. So if you do click on a zoom option, you have one further useful option over here on the right hand side, which is zoom background. And what that will do is it will not use the background from the slide you are going to. It will instead use the background of the menu slide. So if you choose zoom background, it now gets rid of that white and now you can see the menu in the background there like that. You can twist these around if you want for a bit of a jaunty angle, but now when you go through it there like that, click on this and it will now zoom into that for you. So it looks like you're now zooming into the table, and then you can go through the rest of the content. And here we've also got kind of navigable functions and kind of breadcrumb trails to show you what's going on, or you can go back to the home tab at any time. So it's kind of more traditional kind of e-learning modules. But if not, you can just click through normally and it will come back to that main menu. And now you can click on the next one. And again, it's going to take you through all of that content nice and easily. And then again, come back to the menu. So all sorts of different things that you can do here to kind of bring this to life a lot more. And again, these are kind of clickable content bits. This is using triggers, which has been around in PowerPoint for years and years and years, but that's kind of giving you these nice options to be able to navigate through your presentation, through your e-learning module really simply and really easily. So there's loads of different functions there in Office 365 that are well worth exploring. I think this zoom function brings an awful lot of capabilities that can be very helpful and very useful indeed. Right, we are pretty much there at 45 minutes, so I'm going to pause just for a moment and kind of start wrapping up. Happy to answer questions for as long as anybody likes. If there are particular niche things that you want to know about Office 365, do so. But I think those are some of the most powerful functions that you get recently in Office 365 that can really help you to bring your content to life quickly and easily, and then just simply do the wonderful thing that iSpring does of hit publish and convert to HTML5 so that it now works in your LMS as a really useful piece of kind of e-learning content. Just a quick shameless plug for me, for BrightCarbon, the company I work for. These are all the different things that we do. So we spend our time creating presentations, e-learning, animations, and infographics. If you would like any help creating any of those, please do feel free to get in touch. But more specifically, more usefully for you guys as content creators, if you are doing any of these things, we love to share really cool stuff like this. We have loads of completely free webinars like this as well on our website too. So brightcarbon.com, and lots of free resources and whatnot for you there. Check those out, including some of the really cool things that you can do with iSpring too. It's a fantastic tool that we use all the time because of the ease with which you can just create content in PowerPoint and then convert to kind of SCORM compliant HTML5 and LMS. If you are really super keen at creating all sorts of design stuff, we also have an add-in called BrightSlide. It's a really useful tool. Again, it's available completely for free, and we've designed it for our own purposes as graphic designers creating presentations. So it might be worth checking that out if you're a power user. But also, please feel free to get in touch. As I said, happy to answer questions now. We've got kind of 10 or 15 minutes to do so, but also follow us on the Twitter at BrightCarbon or email info@brightcarbon.com. And we'd be more than happy to geek out with you about presentations, e-learning, PowerPoint, iSpring, and anything else that you want. So with that, thank you so much. Thank you to Paulina for hosting this. Really appreciate it. To iSpring for putting this on. If you've not checked out iSpring, shameless plug there. Do so. It is a fantastic add-in. And great capabilities. I've not touched on all the kind of extra stuff you can do with iSpring, the interactive functions and features that you can add in to make PowerPoint really come alive for the purpose of e-learning. So it's well worth checking that out, and the past history of webinars as well. But with that, Paulina, any questions that we can answer today?
Actually, lots of questions, and thanks a lot for your presentation, Richard. People are really liking it so far. Let's start with the first question from Ellen. So Richard, any copyright concerns using and publishing MS icons and clip art?
No, they have specifically said that as long as you are using that stuff in anything that is Office derived, then you are great. What you're not able to do is then, so you can create content in PowerPoint, publish that to HTML5 with iSpring, use it as a piece of e-learning, totally acceptable. What they don't want you doing is then taking the graphics and using them to populate your own website or printing them on t-shirts and mugs and things like that. So, I mean, anyone here, sensible use. If you're using it as you think it should be intended to be used, that's fine. Just don't take it and put it on kind of other products, essentially.
Thank you so much. And Carlos is curious, what is the difference between icons and stickers?
The look, the style is very different, but stickers are also pictures, so they can't be manipulated. You can't change the colors of them. They also pixelate if you make them too big. So essentially, it's another form of it's another form of clip art, if you like, or it's a type of image. Whereas the icon is a graphic object. It's a scalable vector graphic. SVG is the technical file type. And what that means is that you can recolor it, you can resize it. It's never going to pixelate at all because it's just kind of vectors. Kind of nice smooth shapes that you can make as large or as small as you like.
Thank you so much. And could you please just let everybody else know one more time what version of PowerPoint you're using? You
So
were
I'm using
using.
Office 365. There's a program that Office runs called the Insider program, which is like a beta testing platform, which I'm on, which is why if you were to insert icons, your kind of style might look a little bit different than mine, because just in the last week or two, they've released that new version with all the stock photos and the stickers and whatnot in there. So if you don't have the stickers yet, for example, you will get it soon, but it might take a couple of months for it to roll out to everybody. So I'm in Office 365, but maybe just a little bit ahead of most people.
Thanks a lot. And Ian is asking, does use of these highly visual features significantly increase the PowerPoint file size?
The only thing that will really impact PowerPoint file size is anything that is additional, kind of external media. So images and video and audio will do, but any kind of animation functions or Morph or the zoom function, anything like that won't. If you're into iSpring as well with your quizzes and your kind of questions and whatnot, again, none of those will really materially impact the file size. It's more this external media. Just to give you a demonstration though, I mean, you can also reduce the file size by compressing images. So here I've got a picture. Let's just maybe shrink that down even more. So you've got that picture there. If you go to the picture format tab on the ribbon, over on the left-hand side here, you've got a thing called compress pictures. And what that will do is it will bring up a huge range of options for you to choose different resolutions. Now, to be honest, for pretty much all e-learning environments, especially, this web version is really totally fine. So you can massively reduce the resolution of your images. And also we talked about cropping images and how the rest of the image doesn't actually disappear. Well, that's great if you want to do something funky with it, but it's also really annoying if you're trying to reduce file size. So you can also choose to delete cropped areas of pictures. And if you deselect this apply only to this picture box, you can then reduce or compress your pictures throughout your presentation, which can also help to significantly reduce file size. And then whilst we're on it, I've also recorded a video here. Videos are real kind of file size hogs, but you can also often compress video in your presentations too. To do that, you go to the file option on the top left, and then info here on the left-hand side there, and you've got this option here to compress media. Now, I've only done a very short screen recording of 3.5 meg, but you can now choose compress media. You can choose what resolution you want. If you do have 4K resolution or higher, it will also give you a 4K option too, but you can now reduce that down, and that will then also potentially save you significant bandwidth or file size. And generally speaking, I find that you definitely don't need anything more than full HD resolution. And to be honest, probably regular 720p HD resolution is going to be fine. But anything lower than that, you'll probably notice the quality difference. So check it out. It'll depend a little bit on the video. But both of those two options, to compress pictures and to compress media, can help you a lot to reduce file size if you do have a problem with it.
Thanks a lot. And let's move on to the next question from Renee. After a zoom, could you gray out the items that are already viewed?
Oh, that's a great question. You could, using trigger animations. I'm not sure that I would want to. We can try to kind of do it here. So I've got an option that I'm just going to draw a box. I'm going to kind of gray it out, and let's just add in a bit of transparency to it like that. It becomes really complicated, so I'm not sure that you would want to, but we can give it a go. And I'm going to add in a simple fade animation. And then on the animations tab, let's just see what that's called. That's called section zoom 11. On the animations tab, you can now choose to do a trigger, and I'm going to trigger that animation when I click on section zoom 11 like that. And so now what's going to happen is, bring up the animation pane now, that should work. Now, when I click on this, it should trigger that gray box to appear. I've not tried this before, so let's see if it works. Oh, something funky is going on there. And then you come back and, no, curiously, it hasn't. So maybe you can't with that. You can do with hyperlinks. So that trick will work with hyperlink functions. I'm not sure that it works with Zoom, clearly. But again, it's quite awkward. And so it's not the best thing in the world to create something useful like that. If you wanted to hyperlink everything instead manually by just right-clicking you can draw a box over this, for example, and you can, oh gosh, what's going on there? So if you draw a box, you can right-click on it, you can choose link, and you can go to a place in this document to a particular slide like that. And that now becomes the hyperlink, and then you can trigger this gray box to appear when you click on a hyperlink. So technically it's possible, but I wouldn't really recommend it because it's very time consuming and annoying. It depends how important it is to you to do that. Sorry.
Thank you for the recommendation. Yeah, and next question again about Zoom. Randy is asking, and also Brian is curious, can the slides in Zoom be locked so that the user must go through the presentation in a certain order?
Can the slides in Zoom be locked so you have to go through it in a certain order? Fundamentally, it's PowerPoint, so you could go back. Well, yeah, so you'd have to go through it in a certain order. Oh, I see the do you mean like you have to go through section 1 and then section 2 and then section 3 and then section 4? I don't know if you're still on and can type in the chat there for that.
Yes.
So if that's the case, what you could do is you could animate this content in. So this is only available kind of on a click, for example, so it's not visible. But to be honest, if you want to do that, I wouldn't use the zoom function because the zoom is all about choice. It's about allowing people to choose the element they want. If you want people to go through in a different order, then instead I would use a much older kind of tool called custom shows. So to do that, you can go to the slideshow tab on the ribbon here, and you can do custom slideshow. So here you can now do custom shows, and you can do a new custom show which allows you to create slideshows in any order. So it might be that I want 1, 3, and 5, for example, and add those in. And actually, I want slide 5 to be in the middle. So it actually goes 1, 5, 3 in terms of the order, and then choose OK. And now you've got that custom show there, and so you can get people to run that. And you can then create an action button. So let's just close that down. Let's create an action button here. So create a shape, do insert action, and what that will do is it will run a particular custom show. So I can then hyperlink to a custom show. There's the first custom show that we did. You can also do here custom show, show and return, so it will come back to this menu if you wanted to. So it's like it's trying to manually recreate the zoom function. Okay, and now if I click on this box, it will take me to that slide, and then this slide, and then back again to this slide, and then when I finish, it will bring me back to the menu. So you see how it can jump from 1 to 5 to 3 and then back again. Again, it's more awkward, it's more precise, but it's whether you want to spend the time to do that kind of thing. So custom shows might be the option there.
All right, thank you very much. And Susan is asking, does 365 overlay my current Office programs? Will I lose anything? Do you know by any chance?
You won't lose anything, no. So it replaces any existing programs, yes. It's just like getting an upgrade. So from Office 2013 to Office 2016 to Office 365. So everything that you have currently installed for Office will work with Office 365 as well. So if you're using the quick access toolbar or any add-ins, they will all appear. So iSpring, for example, won't disappear when you update to Office 365 from an older version.
Perfect, thank you. And okay, Renee is asking, how many slides can you have in a presentation? Can you have a full 6-hour program?
You can do, absolutely. PowerPoint can become unstable when you're presentation deck gets into the hundreds. Although, to be honest, I think that that's been improved. That's largely kind of older versions. And so we will regularly have slide decks of 300, 400, 500 or so. The bigger question is not necessarily whether you should have 500 slides in a single file. It's more, do you want 500 slides at all? And would you break it down into different modules? So that might be an option to consider rather than having it all in a single file. But PowerPoint shouldn't have any stability issues really. The only thing that might cause a problem over a large kind of deck is more file size. So if you have lots and lots of video in it, for example, and your PowerPoint slide deck has a file size of several gigabytes, which is possible, particularly if you add lots of video to it, that can cause it to be a bit unstable because now your computer has to open up a really large file, and so RAM usage, system resources usage can be difficult. So again, compressing your video and images down like we had before will be a huge help, but the number of slides shouldn't be an issue technically.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Richard. It was an amazing presentation, and as always, I should say. And I would like to thank all of our today's attendees for coming and spending this very valuable hour in terms of different tips and tricks that you can start using right now and to make your content even better. And I would like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Stay safe, everyone, and we will see you at the next webinar. Bye, everybody. Bye, Richard.
Thank you so much, Polina. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.